Welcome back to the Overland Truck build. It's been 8 months since I've worked on this rig, and today it is time to redo or redesign the kitchen cabinet. The original design was not working at all for me, and I have redesigned it completely, and it's a work in progress. So come on in and see what I've been doing these last 5 days. So far, I've relocated the gray water tank forward, giving me more room in the back so I could run the heater duct and other plumbing and wiring back there rather than in the front where this panel sits. And I would have seen all of that through the panel because it is see-through. That's allowing air ventilation under there. So now the tank sits forward. There's 1.5 inch air gap. I've got 3 inches. Actually, I got over 3 inches, but there's a 3-inch hole here. Goes into here, another 3-inch hole, another 3-inch hole. And I've got to clear this cabinet out because there's stuff in there and there's also stuff under the bed there. But the heater duct will run through here, come up inside of this cabinet, and then pop out over there. So hot air supply at the ceiling and over the bed area. And then the return is either going to be over there if I can get it. If not, it'll be right here where that the ductwork is, right there. But I think I've got room to get it over there, which will get a good circulation of hot air coming through. As it cools, it falls, goes back in, and then in here is the heater. At this point, I'm not sure if I'm putting the water heater in here, or I might relocate it to this area right here. This is a good spot for it. And the issue with it here is that I need a 13 by 13 hole going out one way or the other. And there's this door down there, which totally messes it up. If that door wasn't there, I'd be able to put it right there. But the door is there, so I either have to move it all the way up into this area and it just barely clears here, or this underbench storage I can keep for good storage, and I can move it over here. There's a possibility where I can actually put a drawer in here, so the drawer that I lose over there would be made up over here. Again, this is the bench, dinette area, table over there too. Under here is all the electronics. Under there is the 57-gallon gray water tank. I've added all ventilation holes coming down the side, 3-inch hole all the way around there for the ductwork. I've got the finish on both sides of this. This had to be a spray-on finish. The rest has been wipe-on because of all these grills. And then we're going to jump out here, and I'm working on, this is the other side of the kitchen area, and I just did a round over on that, so I'll finish that off, and then this is going to get glued up. Go back over here. That panel goes right there and comes up above, and I made it so that it comes up higher than where the cushion is, so that this wet area, because there'll be a sink right here, you're not splashing over into the dinette and the cushion area there. It keeps things protected here. And it's the same thing like I did here. I came up higher than the bed so that when the countertop is in here, there's all this protection area. Not sure if I'll end up putting metal on here and then coming around with a metal backsplash, because this is the cook surface over here. But as of right now, anyway, that's going to get glued up. On top of here is the refrigerator that pulls out. That'll be coming in next. And before I do that, this panel and the panel out there, once this is glued in, I will be putting in a big vent right here, because that is the intake and exhaust for the cooling unit for this Dometic dual zone 95 cubic inch, I think. Okay, there it is. End of day 2. A lot of removal and then gluing back up, so you can see the water tank out of there now. All these blocks were removed. They had to be cut out and then re-glued in. So that one, all glued in. This is now in. Here's that radius edge. But this has been glued to this panel, and then also glued to the back wall. And all this will stay tonight and be ready to go tomorrow. Well, we're at the end of day 3 here. Take you through what we've got so far. But all that is glued up and done. This piece was installed, glued in, put a radius on there. Last night I finished up with just a bunch of cleats. We got all these cleats under here and over there. And then today this top went down. So this is the refrigerator area. This is the top above it. And then this will be the bottom of the drawers. One of the problems with this long opening here and having drawers that are supposed to be up here is that 1/2 inch plywood would just flex. And once you get weight in the drawers, you would get a sag in there. So what I did is I cut this top back 1/2 inch. I added, where you see all these clamps, put in this support structure. This is glued to this part here now. That provides rigidity across this large opening. And then there's a piece sitting right up here. That gets cut down, and that's a 1/2 inch ply. That is going to be mounted on the face here, which then brings us out flush where it ends, and also changes the grain again to add more rigidity here. So that's going to get glued to the face of here, which is going to give me the support I need here. I don't know if you can see my blue tape on the wall there. So I've got my center mark of my window. I like my sinks centered on the window. So a lot of today was spent figuring out countertop, the finished countertop height. And I've got marks here where that's going to be. There'll be a 1 inch top. But what I needed to make sure was how I was going to do a sink, because I don't have a lot of this is 8 inches from here to there. The countertop is going to be 1 inch thick. So now I have 7 inches before I hit that. And I need to get a sink in here with a drain underneath in that space. So like that rules out an undermount. So it's got to be a top mount sink. And right now I'm waiting on some measurements coming back in for a special RV drain, which is very different than your typical traps on your house sinks, to see if I can get that sink sitting here, or am I going to have to notch this out, and I only have an inch below here. I only have an inch clearance before that refrigerator would hit the top of the refrigerator. So that is what I'm working on for the sink, and that's why there's no cleat on the back. But I did start investigating what sinks I could use. Might end up going with a vessel sink like I had in my previous build, which will allow me to bring the sink up higher. But I do have my center mark, so I know where my sink's going to be. I have elevation for my countertop. The sink that I'm looking at is a 15 inch sink, so I have those marks here so I could see how much counter space I have around this area. I wanted the distance between here and this window, I wanted that matched over here. So from here to this mark is that symmetry for that window. And what that means is that I'm going to end up putting the divider, and if you could see, this is where it was planned to go, and I don't like how that lays out. Basically all that does is split the top in half and make these two giant drawers. I don't like that at all, so I'm going to be putting my divider now over here. So when you're looking at it from here, there will be a divider, and I'm probably going to either end up with 2 drawers here, or actually could be even 3 because of the way the sink is. And then on this point, from here over, I figured out my halfway part mark. That's the cooktop, right there and right there. And this is my area for the cooktop. So I was making sure there I would have access, which I do from here, to get my gas lines up there, electric lines for the cooktop. And you could see there's a good amount of space between here and there. There's a good amount of prep space here. This will, because this is my cooktop and I am using propane, I do prefer it for cooking and heating. I think it is best. And we do have a max air fan in here for great ventilation, as well as a window in the kitchen, which is always good. I'm probably going to be wrapping this whole area here with stainless steel. So underneath the cooktop, there'll be a drawer, and then I'm either going to split this in half, or I'll do a 15-inch drawer in the center, and then actual drawers on each side. And the reason I say actual is because this sink is going to be right down onto here. So this is probably going to be a very short drawer, which I'll probably use one of those ones that'll just open and be more like a cubby, someplace you could keep sponges or cleaning fluids and stuff like that, right there in front of the sink. And then actually have pull-out drawers on each side. That also moves my weight load here off to the sides, so there'll be less chance of any sagging right here. Yeah, this kitchen is almost done. I'm doing another leak test on both tanks before final install, because I added some fittings on here. I'll show you that. I basically fill up the tank with water, and then you wait to see if you have any leaks. And these 4 are what I added after I did the last leak test. So I'm just checking everything again, make sure there's no leaks. You will see some water here, but that's coming out of this, which is just a plug I put in. It's this part here that's important. Not even here, but this part here, this part there. But mostly I wanted to make sure that those were all good. And now I will dump that water and leak test the next tank. It is often the little details that most people will not see, and which a lot of companies can really cut corners on. And here you're going to see I'm installing 500-pound drawer glides for the refrigerator, and I had these custom inserts made because I needed to recess the 24-inch drawer glides into the wall a little bit so that I'd have full clearance when I pulled it all the way out, yet the cabinets were only 23.5 inches deep. So there you could see how that works. And it is these little details that really do make a difference, but most people aren't going to see. Here's another one. I'm painting the grills black, even though most people aren't going to see it. I'm painting those grills black, and that's the cutout for the ventilation for the refrigerator, as well as the outlet right above it. I finished up today making the dividers for the drawers underneath the countertop, and I had two possibilities of different layouts, so I was testing them here. You could see layout A or B. I wonder how many can actually notice the difference. Well, thanks for watching, and if you enjoy this content, stay tuned for more.